shouldn't have anything to do with who we are, our state of being, but we are still limiting ourselves because it's still about comparing ourselves to this based on.
So I would say that you actually bring up a bigger issue of just inclusivity in the Black culture and community in general. What community do I fall into? Because I can go into one Black community and say, no, you're watered down. I go to the white community and say, no, you're money.
But what happens to the folks on the inside who realize that they are being abused and torn apart and they can't do anything about it?
In terms of symptoms, funding that helps pay for HIV meds but not accepted by all pharmacies, the cost of medicine, the requirement of HIV people to go to abusive spaces.
We talk about capitalism and we want to take it away, but what do we replace it with? And for people who want some sort of currency, people who want to feel valid, people who want to feel powerful, money is there. The only thing that I know that's bigger than money is love.
Hi, family. I'm Victoria Kirby York, the National Black Justice Coalition's Director of Public Policy and Programs. On behalf of the National Black Justice Coalition, I am honored to welcome you to the 4th annual, newly renamed Audre Lorde Wisdom Awards. Woohoo! We are humbled on this national Honor Our LGBTQ+ Elders Day to celebrate the contributions of Black lesbian, bisexual, transgender, queer plus, and same-gender loving women and femme elders who have made and continue to make towards the fight for liberation, justice, and equity for all. Our awards program is partially named in reference to the symbol of our logo, the Nyansepo knot, a Ghanaian Adinkra symbol representing wisdom, ingenuity, persistence, and achieving goals through the most strategic path. Many of our African ancestor tribes celebrated and continue to celebrate elders as those most wise among us and best suited for preparing our future leaders. Many of these tribal lineages were matrilineal, which makes it fitting that these awards are given to the women elders who have shown wisdom throughout their careers and are past due for recognition of their accomplishments. Our Wisdom Awards program was recently renamed to also honor the iconic Black lesbian mother warrior poet, Audre Lorde, who would have turned 90 years old this year. We are thrilled to hear from writer, activist, and community builder, Dr. Alexis Pauline Gumbs, who will share more about the wisdom of Audre Lorde and her forthcoming book, The Eternal Life of Audre Lorde.
Greetings, everyone. I am so excited to be with you all on this epic day. I'm Sister Dr. Alexis Pauline Gumbs, and as Victoria mentioned, I have just completed a biography called Survival is a Promise, The Eternal Life of Audre Lorde. And I'm so thrilled today because each of these honorees are part of the eternal life, the ongoing legacy of Audre Lorde's bravery. And so it's such a joy that now these awards are named after the Black, lesbian, feminist, socialist, warrior, mother, poet, Audre Lorde. And I'm so grateful to National Black Justice Coalition, who will be doing a giveaway of the biography and a book club and all of the things, because we cannot celebrate Audre Lorde too much. You all are living lives that are sacred texts, and it's huge to be among you. I'm just going to speak briefly because we're going to get onto your accomplishments. But I want you to know that in my years of research on Audre Lorde's life and diving into her journals and her correspondence and tracking really the way that she moved in community, one of the major things that you all have in common with Audre Lorde is that her love for the people and her insistence on making that love tangible, financially, out loud, publicly, is something that I see reflected in each of you. So as I sift through the archives and I find, just actually even other people's archives, and I find little cards with a Black unicorn on them with Audre Lorde that must have had a check enclosed at some point, where she got her income tax return and she was like, let me send it to Joseph Beam, creating the magazine for Blackout. Let me send some over here to Cheryl Clark, because she made all the photocopies for the Combahee River Collective Black Lesbian Feminist Retreats. And so maybe she should be reimbursed. Sending it to Pat Parker and saying, you know what, we actually got paid different amounts at this poetry event that we did together, and I'm going to make it so that you should get paid as much as I got paid, right? That's something that is a part of Audre Lorde's legacy beyond her beautiful writing and her public speaking, is the fact that she knew that we are the ones that honor and resource our own communities. So thank you all for living that reality. I'm going to go and just press mute so I can scream without disrupting the whole rest of the ceremony, because I'm so proud of each of you. I'm proud that you all are people who have inspired me personally. And some of you in my closest community, Audre Lorde lives and love lives on. Audre Lorde believed in something that she called the fund of energy that moves through us. And that when we pass away, that fund of energy continues. And you all exemplify that. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your work. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Sister Dr. Gums. I look forward to reading your new book, and I am grateful for the gems of wisdom from Audre Lorde that you dropped with all of us. As the host of this event for the last 3 years, I am thrilled to provide the opportunity to guest host. That's right, we have a guest host this year, y'all. To this year's Monica Roberts Senior Scholar, Hope Giselle Godsey.
Thank you so much, BKY. It is a privilege to honor the ladies celebrated tonight and carry the late legacy of Monica Roberts, an icon in the fight for transgender rights and the Black LGBTQIA communities and movements. Ms. Roberts, who would have been 62 earlier this month, was a longtime collaborator and fixture in the NBJC family. Her digital platform, Transglyrio, which continues today to be pushed by media, lawmakers, law enforcement, and Black LGBTQIA+ and same-gender loving movements to sound the alarm on the epidemic of violence facing Black transgender women. Our Stolen Lives initiative continues to do the work and demand accountability for protection, prevention for all of these hate crimes and murders. Programs like these would have not been possible without the incredible support that we are thankful from with our partners at AARP for helping us to honor and support these legendary and iconic community members. With this partnership in mind, I invite you to watch this video from Cassandra Cantive Burton, our interim senior manager of audience strategy for people with disabilities at AARP. Take a look.
Welcome on behalf of AARP. My name is Cassandra Cantive Burton, and I lead our LGBTQ research. I want to take the time to really say I'm very honored today to be here to celebrate and honor these beautiful trailblazers. I want to thank the NBJC family, particularly Dr. David Johns and VKY, for extending this invitation. I also want to really acknowledge the trailblazers, all of these women who have sacrificed so much so that we can live our lives with a little bit more dignity, be a little bit safer, stand a little taller, and really live our lives a little bit more authentically. So from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. Thank you, thank you for all of the sacrifices that you've made along the way. At AARP, we're committed to the LGBTQ, same gender loving family. We're committed to the work. And so we're honored to be able to lock arms and build friendships and relationships with organizations like NBJC, because we know the fight is great. We know that there is so much work to do and we can't do it alone. We're committed to making sure that people can live their lives freely with dignity and choose how they want to live without discrimination and without fear. And so again, we thank you today for all that you've done, and we thank you for having us here.
So I want to say thank you to AARP, and we urge all of you to support the work of our partner and our elders by using our action hub at NBJC.org to push lawmakers to improve, expand, and do more work with our nation's caregiving programs to ensure that more of our elders can engage in safety at home. In addition to honoring our trailblazers, I am thrilled about our torchbearers. You'll hear a lot about them today, and many of them who have carried the baton for these leaders and continue to blaze trails of creators and honorees. Our first torchbearer will be my good sister, Miss Raquel Willis. She is an award-winning activist, journalist, and media strategist, and an author of The Risk It Takes to Bloom, One Life and Liberation at a Time. Take a look at what she has to say.
Hey everybody, it's Raquel Willis, and I have to give a big hi l'amour to the one and only Miss Dee Chambly. Miss Dee is the mother of the Atlanta Black trans movement and has been for many years now. There aren't enough words, hugs, kisses that I can give her to express my gratitude for just her gorgeous, ferocious existence. Her impact on me really started in 2015. Shortly after I moved to Atlanta, I was new on the organizing and social justice scene, and I didn't know that Miss Dee was seeing me at a rally. But she told me months later when we officially met that she was impressed by what I said on the mic at that rally and impressed by how forceful and powerful I spoke about being a Black trans woman openly when I really didn't have to, in her own words. And that's the thing about Miss Dee is she sets paths for folks whether we realize it or not. And so I couldn't have ever been outspoken in that space without the foundation that she has laid with Legender since 2001. On more than one occasion, I've been able to sit at Miss Dee's feet and hear her testimony of how she's come to know her power. She is someone who is very outspoken about her experiences during the HIV/AIDS epidemic in the early days, and of course, how finding access to medication led her to finding a different kind of voice and power in organizing and building collective power amongst trans folks. And I love hearing her stories every time I've gotten a chance to interview her about the people that she is walking in the elder and of course ancestral path of. People like the Lady Chablis, people like Tina DeVore. And I also love that we both share a bit of a drag history. She recounted to me once a story of her finding joy and liberation in lip syncing to Donna Summer at the Onyx with all the other girls. Miss Dee, it is always an honor to count myself amongst all of the legendary children, nieces, nephews, and nibblings that you have inspired and raised. And I know I can never give all of the praise that you deserve. I mean, you're also a champion of change, according to former President Barack Obama. But I can do my little part in this moment and give you this lovely honor of being the 2024 Audre Lorde Wisdom Awardee. I love you. L'amour. I'm always sending you so many kisses.
Hello. Oh, it was such a great, heartfelt to hear one of my children talk about me. I'm the Dee Ngozi Chambly, Executive Director of Legender. And the gender was created because I didn't have a job. Wouldn't nobody hire me. The job discrimination during that time was horrible. A girl couldn't get a job at McDonald's. So, talking to God one day, and he said, well, why don't you hire yourself? And that's how the gender got created. And I hired myself. And it was created to give a voice to the people that were suffering like me, who were tired of being disrespected, who were tired of not having a voice, who were tired of being considered non-existent. Because at that time, we weren't even considered people. We weren't even being counted. People were dying by the droves from HIV, and our population, our community, was the highest rate of infection, but we still wasn't being counted as a people or a community. It took us many, many years of fighting with that CDC to let them know that we are not men that have sex with men, that we are women, and that that category does not fit us, and that we need to have a category where we can have funding that's coming towards our needs and to address our needs, because our needs are not like men that have sex with men. Our needs are totally different, and that we needed to have program funding that was geared toward addressing our needs. So that was a real, 30 years ago. People used to spit on the sidewalk when they saw us, and I just could not lay down and not do anything. So the gender was created, and we started our campaign educating people about our community, educating the AIDS service organizations, colleges, universities, anybody that we could tell how to better treat us and how to address us. Because they will always say, well, I don't know, I'm not one of them. I don't know how to treat them. I don't know how to address them. And all I had to do was go and say, well, simply ask them how they want to be addressed a little more. And they will tell you, and then you follow suit with that all through your encounter with them. And so just training social workers, training service providers, how to treat us and how to respect us, opened the doors, because the girls weren't coming in to get treated because of the way they were ridiculed, the way that they were disrespected, misgendered. Oh, it was just a zoo when you went to the health department. So the girls weren't going in there for that, even though it meant their life or death. But to be ridiculed like that when you're trying to seek health care was ridiculous. And once we brought that to their attention, to what was happening and how we could better address this community with the respect and the language and how to do pronoun and all that, the doors open and the girls started receiving their care. Now, while I'm doing this, mind you, I didn't have a car. I was jumping buses, jumping trains, jumping in and out of cars. Not those kind of, but I did used to jump out of those. But I was just on the beat, just boots on the ground. The jail, the courthouse, judges, the police department. I mean, I was everywhere. You would have thought I was 1,000 people in one. And I had an army of women, like Jaquisha Elder, Lisa Newsom, Tracy McDaniel. Ooh, just a host of women that were on the front lines with me, marching in the parades and just being presentable and showing people that we do exist, that we are not invisible anymore, and that we are here and we're going to come out and we're going to demand our respect, and then we're going to be respectful. I was so taken back with this award and to be amongst all these high esteemed Black women. I am just so taken aback. This right here wraps up there with the White House and President Obama, which, you know, that right there is just the top tier. And to be the first Black trans woman to receive a Champion of Change honor, and to have my blog appear on the White House website for trans equality at a time when this was not popular. This was not popular. And it was just unbelievable for me that this would happen and I would be able to say the words I need to say in such a national way. And then to meet him and Miss Obama, oh, it was just so grand to sit there at the window and see them come down in the helicopter. And here comes the president in the presidential helicopter. And they land in front of me. Oh, they look like a Ken and Barbie doll. Oh, Miss Obama's dress was just blowing it. But that's my gist on this award and how far is it from me and where I am today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Didi. I really appreciate being able to hear the history of my elders, being able to hear the amazing stories of the folks that surround us. And it's beautiful to be able to also virtually sit at your feet. Hearing Raquel talk about you felt amazing. And I want to also highlight not only your work, but your tenacity and the way that you engage us in storytelling. And I wanted to also be able to do the same thing for our next folks, right? So I want to be able to introduce our awardee, Miss Angela Harvey, through Tierra Craig. And we will have her introduce because we wanted to make sure that we had folks that had and shared personal experiences. So Tierra is the Executive Training and Development Specialist at the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs and the creator of What in the program created to prevent erasure of lesbian communities. Go ahead, Tierra. Take us away.
I'm Tierra Craig, founder and chief consultant for What in the L, all things lesbian. And I'm here to give y'all the down and dirty on my good friend, Angie Harvey. Boy, we have been growing together over the years. She has been in this game for what? About 20 years, y'all, doing the work, helping us grow. Do y'all remember Angie Harvey, Grow Full Circle on Blog Talk Radio? Yes, back before social media. I have been following her from her work at HRC, from her work at the National Black Justice Coalition, And oh, we cannot forget those Shades retreats, all those Black lesbians together, or her couples retreats, giving us growth and romance at the same time. Man, from Ohio to Vegas to Texas to DC, and now in North Carolina, Angie Harvey has been curating growth across this country, working with lesbian organizations, HBCUs, school districts, flexing her social work muscle for us. Yeah, you remember Angie Harvey Speaks, that and a plethora of her books. I have her coloring books and I love them. When I'm feeling down, I need a little bit of motivation, something to pick me up and calm my mind. Yeah, I pick up my Angie Harvey coloring books. We're growing together. Now, if you're new to Angie, you probably know her from Black Rainbow Love, the documentary that she wrote, directed, and produced. Not to mention winning awards across the country at film festivals. So y'all, there is nobody else I feel deserves this 2024 Audre Lorde Wisdom Award other than my friend, Angela Harvey. Congratulations, I love you, and let's continue to grow together.
Oh my goodness. First, let me just give honor and praise to God. I do all things through him, and as promised, it has strengthened me. It is his presence in my life that keeps me wanting to be here. Thank you, Tiara, for that amazing introduction and that tribute. Thank you to AARP for your commitment to supporting our community. And a special thank you to the National Black Justice Coalition for this honor and acknowledgement of the 22 years that I've been blessed to serve and grow with and for my community. Shout out to the thousands of grown folks who showed up and showed out with me in various spaces and places over the last 2 decades. Thank you to all of my Black Rainbow lovers for allowing me to share their truths, their lives, and their stories with the world. Thank you to my friends and my family, namely my mother, Sandra Harvey, for being an example of fierce dedication and hard work. My daughter, Dominique, who introduced me to authenticity, and to my heartbeats, Layla, Samina, and Dalia. I hope my presence in your life leaves you better prepared to grow in this world. Thank you to my heavenly angels, Pamela, my baby sister, and my loudest cheerleader, Steele. To my grandmothers, Cynthia Harvey and Doris Johnson, my examples of unapologetic and gracious. I hope I've become your wildest dreams. And congratulations to the other honorees, most of whom I know. My heart is full that I'm chosen to stand with such amazing trailblazers and hope pushers. It has taken a village to raise this child, and y'all, I got some village people. Many have offered their shoulders for me to stand on, their ears for me to bend, their hands for me to hold, their examples for me to follow, and their guidance for me to grow. With some of the previous honored trailblazers, Donna Payne Hardy, Bishop Yvette Flunder, Racine, Mandy Carter, Jamil Fletcher, and Earl Folks, I wouldn't have been able to be all that Audre Lorde-like, right? I would be lying if I told you that I've not manifested this moment for a while. And no, not manifesting to be recognized for my work in the community, but for me to work tirelessly for my community and not need to be recognized. That is this moment for me. I'm only able to accept this honor after understanding and accepting that the only acceptance, appreciation, acknowledgement, and award I ever need, and is only guaranteed, will come from God. This acknowledgement means so much to me because I worked very hard not to need it while remaining obedient and continuing to grow regardless, always in God's time, which is the best time. All of what you've come to know about me, my love of the community and my obsession with unmuting Black LGBTQ plus voices is a true representation of my commitment to educating, empowering, enlightening, and entertaining folks, and my unwavering obedience to God and my assignment. However, what you can only hear from me and what only God knows is that I've grown through the things to get here. I've had to learn to contain my stutter so that I can disciple to my people, practice healing from hardship before I could preach it, dismantle my buildings of expectation before I could build self-reliant skyscrapers, recognize my haters as cheerleaders to keep me moving down the field, use naysayers as motivations for me to continue to be impactful, share my hurt and my trauma so folks can know transparency sheds shame, accept that many of my forevers were seasonal, giving me time to be productive and doing what I need to do in this world, and to understand that rejection is my protection, believing in the difference between abandonment and positioning, and to be weightless on man and more dependent on God. Audre Lorde said, I have the duty to speak the truth as I see it, and not just share my triumphs, not just the things that feel good, but the pain, the intense and sometimes debilitating pain. It is important to share how I know survival is survival and not just a walk through the rain. I wholeheartedly believe that survival is the prerequisite for trailblazing. Had I not grown through the valley of the shadow of death and learned to fear no evil, I would not be the director of an award-winning documentary, Black Rainbow Love, or the founder of Let's Talk University, where I teach grown folks how to grow up, a nationally known and respected speaker through Angie Harvey Speaks, or a poet and author of the forthcoming poetry self-help book titled Poetic Alchemy, 7 Intentions for Healing, Growth, and Transformation. And I wouldn't be a 2024 honoree. Audre Lorde was a self-described Black, lesbian, feminist, socialist, mother, warrior, and poet. The imposter in me had to have several seats after I read this. I am all that. I am Audre Lorde Light. And I leave you with this. I want to spread the news, and I said if it feels this good being used, God can just keep on using me until he uses me up. I thank you all for your time, and to the National Black Justice Coalition for this honor. It is my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Angela Harvey. I wanted to make space for our next torchbearer, who is a public speaker, author, and activist, Michelle Elizabeth Brown. Take us away, Michelle.
Hello, I'm Michelle Brown. It's such a privilege to be a part of a 4th annual Audre Lorde Wisdom Award ceremony for National Honor Our LGBTQ+ Elder Day, recognizing my friend, the Reverend Dr. Renee McCoy. I've known Renee McCoy for many, many years. Unlike many of her acquaintances, Renee and I didn't meet in the church or even in the LGBTQ+ community, but in the Detroit community at large, where, true to form, she was in service to others. I'd like to share a story which I often tell about Renee that speaks to the essence of the Reverend Dr. Renee McCoy. After a hard day's work, she came to a community dinner. It was a celebration of sorts, with youth volunteers from across the country and local community activists. Renee arrived tired, but looking forward to the fellowship. But then her pager went off. It was a call from someone who needed her, someone living with AIDS, probably in hospice. Her eyes said it all. She turned around and left to answer the call. No complaints, no apologies, no delays. She was called and she answered. It was then I knew I would follow her just about anywhere, because if the Reverend Dr. Renee McCoy was walking that road, it was a path towards social justice and equality for everyone. Renee has never wavered from her calling, rolling up her sleeves, bringing the word, extending a hand, always with compassion and mostly with love. Renee, it's an honor and a privilege to toast you as the 2024 NBJC Audre Lorde Wisdom Honoree that's presented here today with love and appreciation from a grateful community.
I was worried about the story Michelle was going to tell. I was like, uh-oh. It is indeed an honor to be celebrated by the National Black Justice Coalition today. I remember when NBJC began amidst rampant oppression of LGBTQ people. It was a time also when our friends and our loved ones were suffering and dying from the injustice of HIV and AIDS, with so few to stand up and fight for their rights to live in health and wholeness. In the face of continued persecution 43 years into this disease, we need NBJC more today than ever. We need NBJC to stand and remind us that 40% of the people living with HIV and AIDS today are Black. We need NBJC to remind us that 40% of the new HIV infections are among Black people. We need NBJC to lead us through increasing homophobia and transphobia, through the vicious assaults on the dignity and rights of women. We still need NBJC. As I accept this Wisdom Award, though, I need to remember also that this moment is about me, and that's all right. So I want to share a few thoughts of wisdom that have sustained and strengthened me through my journey to this day of honor, and encourage y'all to remember a few things as well. Remember to sing of the goodness of God. For all my life, God has been faithful. When I wavered in believing in myself, God didn't miss a step, and God believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. I had no courage. Remember that we are good, that we are great, and that we are made in the image of a perfect God, a God who loves us in all our broken and bruised places, and a God that has never hesitated to lift us up and be proud of us just as we are. You know, we all know about having choices, but I need for y'all to remember to choose your choices well. Don't get distracted thinking about choosing what outfit to wear to the clubs or choosing who to hook up with tonight. We must choose to make choices that empower possibilities. I encourage you to choose hope over despair, choose passion over perfection, to choose joy over sorrow, and humility over arrogance. I need for y'all to choose courage over fear, and to choose peace over chaos. I need for y'all to remember with me to choose self-power over self-pity. As I accept this award, I urge you to remember that food grows in the dirt, right? And when it looks like everything around you is sludge and mud, plant something. Plant something and wait for healing and beauty to bloom and blossom all around us. I need for y'all to remember that people are like puppies, and when you stop petting them, they're going to bite your hand. But remember and commit to pet them anyway, because petting puppies is calming for your soul. People going to try to disrupt your peace with resentment and anger, with jealousy and judgment. But you know, forgiveness is healing for you, and it's confusing for our enemies. So remember that forgiveness is your superpower, and use it with abandon. The only duty we have in life is to love ourselves and love one another. So let's all remember to honor that duty and love well. Love with conviction and love with compassion. And finally, when all else fails and we feel stuck and we feel like you just don't know what to do or how to do it, remember to take a nap. Because naps make it all better. I proudly receive this honor today with great joy and with deep gratitude. And I send forth the unbridled blessings of God to all of you. The blessings of a God who is proud of us this day and forevermore. And to the National Black Justice Coalition, I say thank you, thank you, thank you.
I just wanted to say, first of all, a good nap is going to get it right every single time. Okay. Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. McCoy. And NBJC would like to thank you and Ms. Chambly for your life-saving work for people at risk of living with HIV and AIDS. Stop HIV Together campaign and our Stop HIV Together campaign centers with the Center for Disease Control and helps to build this and their legacy. People watching can learn more about that campaign again at nbjc.org. We would love to add you as a partner in our work. And our next torchbearer is a minister and professor of movement strategist who goes by the name of Reverend Naomi Washington Limpart. Here we go. Say hi to the Reverend.
My name is Reverend Naomi Washington Limpart, and I am a minister, professor, and social justice activist. I am delighted to be here today to give a toast to celebrate Bishop Tanya Rawls, who is a national faith leader and social justice activist and mentor to me as an emerging theologian in the world of social justice ministry. Bishop Rawls is the founder and executive director of the Freedom Center for Social Justice, which is a culture-shifting organization committed to the growth, safety, and empowerment of marginalized populations. I'm so glad that the Freedom Center is celebrating its 15th anniversary this year, and it's simply incredible what this organization has been able to do in a relatively short amount of time. The Freedom Center, for example, launched the Southeastern region's first LGBTQ law center and transgender employment program. And since 2013, these programs have touched hundreds of lives within the Carolinas. But not only that, nationally, the Freedom Center's Transgender Faith and Action Network expands the work of their successful Trans Faith in Color conferences, which were hosted in Charlotte back in 2011 and 2012. Bishop Rawls was the architect of the Freedom Center's Do No Harm campaign. I was delighted to work to promote this campaign, to provide safe space for faith leaders to discuss challenging justice issues like marriage and religious refusals and equal protections for LGBTQ citizens, other interesting issues that are impacting communities of faith. Her team created the Yes You Can Go campaign, which distributed trans-welcoming restroom signage throughout the state of North Carolina. So Bishop Rawls is a visionary nonprofit executive. She takes nothing and builds it into something. Well, she's also a beloved pastor, a beloved community leader, and a public intellectual. Bishop Rawls founded Unity Fellowship. Bishop Rawls founded Unity Fellowship, Charlotte, and the Sacred Souls United Church of Christ in Charlotte. Both were diverse congregations of progressive Christians. Bishop Rawls was one of the first bishops elevated, consecrated in the Unity Fellowship Church. Bishop Rawls has been a reviewer for the Journal of African American Studies and is published in Black Sexualities, Probing Powers, Passions, Practices, and Policies. Bishop Rawls is an educated woman of faith. She went to Duke University and sits on the governing board of the North Carolina Council of Churches and other local and national advisory boards. She was one of the leaders and architects of the Moral Monday movement in North Carolina, created by the Reverend Dr. William Barber II. I am delighted to be here because without Bishop Rawls and her leadership, I could not do the work that I am doing. I will never forget Bishop Rawls extending to me the opportunity to present as an emerging theologian at the Freedom Center's conference during the pandemic, where I could talk openly about my identity as a Black queer preacher and think about the theological meaning-making systems that Black queer folks need to survive in these times. I'm so grateful to you, Bishop Rawls, for surviving, for thriving, and for paving the way for those of us to come behind you and walk in the shoes that you have filled. This is a toast to Bishop Rawls for the Audre Lorde Wisdom Award. Congratulations.
Bishop Rawls, please unmute your mic.
I want to thank Reverend Naomi so much. See, that's what happens when you get old people to have to do stuff, because things like that happen. So I want to thank Reverend Naomi so much for that amazing recognition. Thank you also so much for the opportunity we all have to watch as you are growing and continuing to make impact in our world. I want to thank NBJC and I want to thank God for this amazing honor. And I want to thank the many, many people whose names are not being acknowledged in this moment, but were definitely critical as it relates to every single thing that was just mentioned. None of that work was ever done alone. And so I want to thank everyone who played a role in it. In the couple of minutes that I have for remarks, I was thinking about, like, what can you say in a career that spanned it more than 30 years? And what might I say if I think about it from an archival vantage point, which I often do. I think about how important it is for us to leave things for those who will come behind us. There's a passage in Hebrews 11 that is this whole long lineup of all of the people who did amazing things, you know, in the Bible. And then that passage ends by saying, and none of them died having received the promise. And I used to dislike that text because I'm like, well, wait a minute. We make all of these sacrifices. They were giving of their lives. They were watching their children and loved ones killed. They were tortured and the like. So if they can't be honored and get the promise, then who can get the promise? Until I read a little further and realized that what the text was really encouraging was we should all live a life that is so big that somebody else has to finish it. And that then as they finish, they and we are made perfect. So I want to celebrate all the ancestors whose dreams I am living the fulfillment of. I want to leave a couple of thoughts because I've learned some stuff over these many years. So the first thing is you are not one-dimensional. And don't let anybody put you in a box suggesting that that is essential, because all it's about is making them comfortable, but has nothing to do with your best self. And so encouraging people around that, lean into your authenticity. For I have learned over the years that as I have made myself small for those who will forget about you tomorrow, the world nor I was a better place because of it. Number 2, be okay learning and unlearning new things. I am a Black woman of a certain age, and there are things that are in my DNA, having been reared in the traditional Black church, and particularly when thinking about the fact that I was reared in very conservative Black environments. That's part of my DNA. I can no more sift that out than I could sift sand to go and find a little piece of myself. And so, with that understanding, it has helped me tremendously to know that it is okay to say, that's not okay any longer. There are things that helped me along the way that now would be problematic if I'm continuing those behaviors. So be okay unlearning and learning new things. Number 3, I would encourage you to invest in your healing and in your growth. So many times I see people who will not flinch spending $1,200 and $1,500 for a doggone purse, even though you don't have nowhere to go for real, right? But you're going to spend that $1,200 on the purse, but won't spend $700 for a really great experience with a good therapist, or won't spend that same $1,200 for a good coach. And it becomes important to understand how important it is to invest in oneself. And when I talk about this notion of healing, for some help, y'all, you got to pay for some help. I thank God for my good girlfriends and all of them, right? And I thank God for an amazing therapist who has been able to walk with me as I have needed support in varied other times. Number 4, surround yourself with people who can pour into and not just take away from you. There are people who will want to take, and not be open to what it means to also be a giver. And so if everybody in your world is taking from you, then how can you possibly have enough left for you to grow? Sometime you have to leave the familiar in order to be able to glean the best for your life. Number 5, I want to encourage you to be careful when selecting lovers and friends, because both are going to imprint on you. Can I say that one more time? Be careful when selecting lovers and friends, because both will imprint on you. And the question is, what will the impact of that imprint be? And if it is not something that's going to help you to grow and be stronger, then you need to jettison from it as soon as possible. Don't be waiting, trying to see and all of this kind of stuff, because if what you see in the very beginning isn't amazing, that's the best they got to give in that moment. And so don't be afraid of that. Number 6, get in touch with what you want and not just what you don't want. So many people are quick to tell me what they don't want. I don't like such and such, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. And then I say, okay, well, what do you want? Do you know how difficult it is for some people to give that answer? Get in touch with what you want, and the universe has a way of aligning with that. And lastly, be in some form of spiritual practice. You need something bigger than yourself in order to live in this world in which we live in all of its complexities. I have many parts, and I am learning now at this age and stage to lean into all my parts, my sexy, my strong, my weak and vulnerable, all of those parts of myself, the entrepreneur that is me. I've run and owned several businesses as well. Lean into all of it. I thank you, NBJC, for this amazing award, and I celebrate all of my siblings who are being honored today as well. God bless you all. Thank you for the award.
Thank you so much, Bishop Rawls. I want to also state that I got a chance to spend a little bit of time with Bishop Rawls just a few short days ago. And in the short time that we were together, you poured in energy to me and reminded me to ground myself in the things that I was passionate about and to not allow my fear of being an imposter to keep me away from opportunities that were built for me. And so outside of you receiving this award today, I think that you deserve all of your flowers at every moment of every day. And I wanted to be one of the people to give them to you today, outside of the amazing folks that are in the chat already doing so. Now, NBJC's Director of Public Policy and Programs, Victoria Kirby York, or lovingly referred to as VKY, will introduce a special award to a sister in our movement who has sacrificed a lot to advocate and lead shoulder to shoulder with our community. She is also the brilliant mind that created our Audre Lorde Wisdom Awards. Listen up to VKY.
Sharon, let me testify, Letman Hicks. It is an honor to bear the torch and to provide a toast in your honor. Before there was a bench of progressive leaders to serve in public office across this country, you administered programs at the People for the American Way to help achieve just that. And when we look around and we see folks who are championing the issues and the people and communities that we care about, we have the long legacy that you've left to thank for that. Similarly, in the LGBTQ plus and same gender loving and in Black civil rights and other progressive movements, you also created a bench and a pipeline of leaders who to this day you can look around and see have made incredible change because of the investments you poured into each and every one of us. Whether that was through the first of its kind, White House, Black LGBTQ plus and same gender loving emerging leaders events, or out on the Hill, bringing together our community to speak truth to power, or Black Institute, convening Black, queer, trans, and gender expansive people at the Creating Change Conference to strategize, organize, and build a movement all across this country that would be capable of uprooting our systems and getting us all to freedom. You honor your name. When it came time to being able to support our even younger youth, you worked with our current CEO, Dr. David Johns, to build the first of its kind White House Black LGBTQ plus and same gender loving youth summit. You also worked hard to ensure that wherever two or more of us were gathered, we were convened. You put yourself on the line, you put your finances on the line, and you consistently bet on our community. A community that you have been more than an ally for. You have been a collaborator. When you look up the definition of collaborator, it's someone who shares, challenges, supports, builds on ideas, and adopts different roles and responsibilities in pursuit of team goals, and also perseveres in the face of difficulties. You've done that and more. As the longest serving leader of the National Black Justice Coalition, serving from 2009 to 2023, you put your 14 years of service to good use, using your privilege to shift norms in the LGBTQ movement and also in traditional civil rights legacy organizations, bringing leaders to the table to fight for all Black people and to ensure that we were not just left the crumbs of freedom, equity, and justice. And looking at the number 14, the years of your service, the number means adaptability, resourcefulness, and transformation. You certainly transformed NBJC and several movements and the work that you've done over your lifetime. I toast to you, and I am grateful to you for your years of service, love, compassion, and mothering that you have done for so many of us in this movement. We love you, we thank you, and we toast you.
Wow, Victoria. I'm trying to hold back the tears. I love you so much. I am so grateful to my time at the National Black Justice Coalition. And I'm so honored to share the stage with such phenomenal honorees as we've had today. This week marks 20 years since I relocated from Florida to Washington, D.C. I actually started working in D.C. on the 50th anniversary of Brown v. Board of Education. And today marks 1 year since my self-actualization of full liberation. Some of you will understand that deeper. My path to NBJC started with the Black LGBTQ plus leadership pulling me aside and saying, we don't need Black straight allies speaking for us. It only erases our existence. We need you side by side with us on the front line, speaking as Black folks, working for full recognition and inclusion for all Black people. Leaders like Donna Payne, Kyler Broadus, Daryl Moore, and Alan Michael Graves set the stage for me to become the executive director and chief executive officer of the National Black Justice Coalition in 2009, with a clear mission to be a public policy-focused organization. I saw the passage of the Hate Crimes Prevention Act, the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and marriage equality on the federal level. National Black Justice Coalition was on the front line. I had the pleasure to create such programs as Out on the Hill, 100 to Watch, and the HBCU Black LGBTQ Leadership Initiative, to name a few. Shining stars like Victoria Kirby York came out of those programs. After 14 years as the CEO, while working on my transition since 2017, it was easy to step aside after recruiting and supporting some phenomenal leaders of the millennial generation. First and foremost, Dr. David Johns, who actually made me work 2 years to court him to come to the National Black Justice Coalition. And Mrs. Victoria Kirby York, who really inspired our HBCU initiative through her work at Howard University. I can't be more proud to where they have taken this organization, especially since the COVID pandemic. I thank my family for standing firmly with me through this professional journey. It was not always easy. It was not always kind, but it was work that absolutely had to be done. My spouse, Alvin Hicks, my baby boy, Nalo, and my mom, Barbara Letman, never wavered and always stood by my side through this journey. I thank them especially. We are now back in Florida as a family, weathering the storms that continue to make NBJC relevant today. And I want to give a special shout out to loyal team members over the years, like the Honorable Vinton Jones, who is now a Texas state representative representing District 100, and Thomas Lee Cunningham IV, who has been with me from the beginning of my tenure at NBJC. As Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. I leave you with my favorite battle cry, own your power. And I emphasize, the future years ahead of us are not going to be easy, not for our movement, not for Black folks in general, not for our country. And the work that we do at the National Black Justice Coalition, the work that we do in civic leadership, in social justice, the fear of using terms like woke that should never be afraid to be said, the work of the National Black Justice Coalition is more important today than ever. Please hear my battle cry, own your power. Thank you, NBJC. Thank you, Dr. Johns. Thank you, Mrs. Victoria Kirby York, and all the supporters of the National Black Justice Coalition. We continue to need you on the front line, supporting the great work of NBJC and all that is to come. I appreciate the honor. Thank you. Oh, one more quick thing. I'm a card-carrying member of the AARP, and I could not be more proud of their partnership with NBJC. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for your years of service, sacrifice, and leadership. I just have to jump in for a second to say that when we created these awards under her leadership, We thought about who would be on our Mount Rushmore, and we commissioned a brilliant Black queer woman named Rebecca Crouch to create an art-based award that reflected our choices. Before hope gets us to the big moment when we share this year's commissioned award with all of you, I have a toast on behalf of NBJC for each of you. I raise my teacup to Didi Ngozi. I hired myself Chambly. Your spirit of love and motherhood has taught so many the lesson to bet on yourself, your story, and your abilities to create change. You've taken many people in, but didn't stop there. You poured into them so they felt proud to show up as themselves and as second to no one. NBJC toasts and salutes you. To Angela Harvey, people who lead mass personal and professional transformation rarely have the opportunity to be honored. Even though your work has broken through the barriers that would have otherwise held our trailblazing leaders back, myself included, thousands would not be where they are today without you. NBJC toasts and salutes you. To Reverend Dr. Renee McCoy, you co-founded and led our nation's first Black LGBTQ plus and same-gender loving national organization and blazed the trail for Black LGBTQ plus and same-gender loving movements that allows us to exist today. Your creation of the first Black gay church in the Metropolitan Community Church blazed the trail for Black welcoming churches nationwide. You are the epitome of courage. NBJC toasts and salutes you. Bishop Tanya Rawls, I've seen you create and implement some of the sharpest campaigns to free all Black people by bringing Black clergy into the upper room and persuading them to take action through public awareness in the streets and public policy at the Capitol. I have learned so much from watching the way you take up space with your brilliance, demonstrate courage, and bring your heart in all you do. NBJC toasts and salutes you. And finally, Sharon Letman Hicks. You are, and Mrs. Sharon Letman Hicks, you are an innovator, motivator, and strategist. You used your privilege as a Black heterosexual woman to move our nation and world forward. You have joined Dr. Beverly Guy Sheftall as one of only 2 active accomplices to receive this honor. During your tenure, the Black community moved from less than 40% to close to 70% support of Black LGBTQ plus and same-gender loving people. NBJC toasts and salutes you. Now, for one final toast from one of our co-founders and a 2023 honoree, here's to Donna Payne Hardy.
Congratulations to all 5 of the award nominees. Thank you so much for your work. Congratulations on behalf of NBJC.
Okay, and now for the grand reveal. We've got some artwork to share with you all. We want y'all to take it in. Look at that. This is some amazing artwork that was created for the Audre Lorde Wisdom Awards that features all of our folks in all of their glory, beauty, power, and passion. And we want to thank Rebecca Crouch as the artist who created and had this piece commissioned for. This is our thank you to all of you amazing scholars, activists, workers, mothers, lovers, fighters, and movement builders. Take it all in. We will continue to celebrate our honorees all month long, and I hope that you will too. It was a pleasure serving as a guest host at this year's awards, and I'll turn it back over to VKY for our call to action and close.
What a powerful moment. It wouldn't be an NBJC event without a call to action. I hope this program inspires you to collaborate with, learn from, and protect our elders. Here are a few ways you can do that. Encourage the wise women and femmes in your life to archive and record their life's journey. Too many Black women have built our movements without credit, often with their names removed from the telling of our movement's history. Consider interviewing wise leaders in your life as a part of oral history projects to capture their stories in perpetuity. Connect or introduce them to an archiving organization such as the Rainbow History Project, the LGBT Religious Archives, Invisible History, Southern LGBTQ History, local libraries and research centers, and the Nomadic Archives Project. Motivate them to write a memoir, record a podcast series highlighting the chapters of their life, publish oral history via video, and donate their papers to public archives such as the Schomburg, Howard's Moreland Spingarn, the DC's MLK Public Library, and more. Now is the time to capture, record, and retell the stories of our trailblazing leaders. We hope to do this in part through this program and our #BeenHere Ubuntu Biography Project, which was gifted to us by Stephen Maglock. One other way we hope to do this is to continue to push for our community's inclusion in post office namings, coins, and printed dollars like this year's Polly Murray quarter, and postal stamps as we continue to push for Bayard Rustin to join the Black Heritage Forever Stamp series. You can participate in that effort by visiting our Action Hub at www.nbjc.org and writing a letter to the U.S. Postmaster General. Finally, in less than a month, thousands will gather at Black Lives Matter Plaza and march to the White House to fight for reparations, voting rights, police accountability, the freedom to learn, and Black artistic freedom. We will kick off the weekend's events with Out on the Hill, a Know Your Rights in History Expo, and an Equity Ball. You can learn more about these events at www.nbjc.org and book travel to the nation's capital for National Equity Week, June 12th through 15th. See you there. I can't wait to see you all there. Make sure you're adding it to your calendar. Everyone, please give a virtual round of applause to our fabulous host, Hope Giselle Godsey. Woohoo! And our special guest, Dr. Alexis Pauline Gumbs. We want to thank the members of this year's selection committee, which included me, NBJC's board chairman, Daryl Moore, our co-founder, one of our co-founders, Donna Payne Hardy, our Black Trans Advisory Council co-chair, Elder Kamarion Anderson, and NBJC collaborators, Dr. Alexis Pauline Gumbs and Reverend Louis Mitchell. I also want to give a special shout out to our event producer, Tom Cunningham, who made all the magic happen behind the scenes. We also thank our CEO and Executive Director, Dr. David J. Johns, and team members, Emily, Alexandra, Cheyenne, Ebony, Brett, Hope, and Jordan. Thanks again to Cassandra, John Paul, and AARP for their support over the last 4 years. Now, get your calendars back out, whether it's paper or on your phone, because there are a few save the dates we want to give you. Please save the date for the James Baldwin Legacy Awards when we do this again for the brothers on August 21st, 24 at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Stay locked in with all of NBJC's happenings at www.nbjc.org and at NBJC on the Move on IG, Facebook, and Black Twitter. Also, tomorrow, in honor of the 70th anniversary of Brown versus Board of Education, our CEO, Dr. David J. Johns, kicks off his new podcast on Apple and Spotify called Teach the Babies. Please listen, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. Finally, stay tuned at the close of the show to hear special words about NBJC from our RuPaul Charity All-Stars Queen, Angeria Paris Van Michaels from season 14, who will be supporting us as her charity of choice as she competes this season. The show premieres May 17th, streaming on Paramount+. Please tune in and support her as an easy way to provide more support for our work on behalf of Black LGBTQ+ and same-gender loving people and families, including our community members living with HIV and AIDS. Thank you all for tuning in, and watch the clip.
Now, Angeria, how's that feeling for you? Oh, it feels amazing, especially to be competing this time for a cause bigger than me.
Yes.
Like, it feels absolutely amazing. I'm representing the National Black Justice Coalition, and it's a civil rights organization that fights for the rights of Black and queer people. And that is something that is so needed all the time.
Yes.
And I really wanted to choose an organization that represented me. And one thing about me, and two things for certain, I'm Black and I'm damn sure queer, okay?